All right, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stickity, and today I'm gonna show you guys a couple of cool things with branded fusion in your Dracotail deck. There's so much nuance to this card. It is the reason that this card is so dynamically versatile and able to pivot in a myriad of different directions is what makes it, in my opinion, worth the allocated extra deck resources and the completely dynamic change in how you build your deck, because you're essentially forsaking the aspect of XYZs and linking. And when you play Cartesia, this deck can actually put out level 8 synchros with Secretarion combos. Nobody does. I'm going to show you guys things that you've never seen with Dracotail. But when you're playing the branded build, you're forsaking a lot of like that cool diversity in the deck building prospect. But you get a lot out of it, right? You sacrifice a lot, but you get a lot more bang for your buck, in my opinion. The first scenario is that Branded Fusion can out-retaliating C, which is really, really nice, because you can actually dump the materials from your deck being banished, and you can summon Chaos Source by making a Lubellion and putting back the Lubellion and the Albaz. If you're going first, I would still recommend putting back the Lubellion and the Albaz. Leave the Malulu, you could put it back off a trap, and just pop the retaliating. If you're going second, you can pop 2, but Chaos Source can target up to. So really, really good card. So it outs retaliating C in that aspect. Also, when you're playing into the Herald of Arclight and the Yummy board, they will not negate this. Reason being, because they want to keep the Arclight. So what's going to happen is you're going to summon a Sanctifier by dumping a Cartesia or a Frixel and an Albaz. And the Sanctifier cannot be targeted. So they cannot interact with it with Cookie. They cannot interact with it with a Croaky. They cannot use Surprise to target it. So you basically will just attack over that Arclight, and there's nothing they can do about it unless they have literally droplets, which is so very particular that if they got it, they got it. Everything that's known engine-wise, they can't do anything about it. So that's another good reason why Branded Fusion is so insane in this deck. Outside of outing like the stupid floodgates, because this also outs Dimensional Fissure, which is amazing. It outs Dimensional Fissure, it outs Arclight, it outs Retaliating C. It really lets you beat the cards that your deck would lose to, which is why it's the best card in your deck. I will talk about some technical nuance where this card allows you to start doing some heinous things as well. So the first thing that I want to go over, and probably the most important, is that this is essentially a one-card starter in your deck. I'll show you that if you didn't know. Even if you know, who cares? Don't comment like a crybaby. Just watch it. We'll activate the Branded Fusion and dump the Albaz. Man, we already knew this. Well, watch it again. We're going to put up the Frixel, and we're going to go ahead and put out the Sanctifier. I normally like to put in EMZ. We're going to activate the Frixel's effect. Frixel's going to set from our deck a Ketu. Then we can activate that Ketu, grab a copy of Lucius. Then we'll normal the Lucius, and we will grab a Femina. Now, all we need is a throwaway monster. Let's say it's a Mocharmy Fualos. We'll activate Femina, fusing the Lucius and the Fualos away. And we are going to make our Arthalion. And we're going to activate the Arthalion as Chainlink 1 to always dodge Bell. And we'll target the Femina, and then 2 will be Lucius. And Lucius will set the copy of Rahu. This will be added back. The next thing we're going to follow up with is just activating Rahu, dumping the Femina from hand and the Urgula from deck. And we're going to put up our summon number 4. You're completely insulated from the Nibiru. Food for thought and also good advice. Do not ever keep Nibiru in against this deck. Ever. Because when you can get Nib, it will be when Seals is up. It's just never good. Ever. You will be triggering both your names, and you're going to set Flame, Horn, or Sting. It just depends on the matchup. Blindly, I would say these are very good. This is good against Mitsu. This is good against Yummy. These are both decent against K9. Sting is more of a card that shines in the mirror matches. But this is the safest way to do it. The last thing you do is Urgula on the Femina, and this is your inboard. And this inboard is a lot stronger than the one-card combo you get off just normal summoning Lucius. Because essentially, minus the Sanctifier, this is the inboard you get off just normal Lucius. It's the same exact thing. The Sanctifier bridged into the Dracotail engine. So your Dracotail inboard, if you normal Lucius with the throwaway monster, this is your board. Where it gets crazier is not only do you have the Sanctifier up, but in addition to that, you have the option now to Albaz your opponent on their turn. Which is really nice. I think that it's pretty crazy. This is going to be very good against pretty much everything. You haven't really exhausted any of your avenues with Albaz, so you could still fuse with any of their monsters and make pretty much anything. preferably a Mirror Jade in a perfect world. You're adding a Mirror Jade to your inboard, which is crazy. If you don't need the Albaz and you're valuing follow-up or a more technical 5 mana, then you can actually just give yourself Frixel and summon a random hand trap from your opponent's grave to their field and go Frixel into the Lucius and add this back. If it's a mirror match, I would say outgrinding them and snowballing an advantage is better. So that's where Sanctifier would be getting the Frixel into the Lucius. Lucius would add most likely Urgula if it's a mirror, sometimes Pan, but I would say with Gulamel and Arthalion, summoning like another Arthalion, you're pretty good on board control. You just want to keep their back rows, like stave off their back rows so that your traps resolve and theirs don't. That's like another key factor in winning the mirror. So yeah, that's the board that you get off Branded Fusion, and it's very, very layered, and it is definitely nothing to scoff at. But Stacks, what happens when you already have combo and you have Branded Fusion? Well, let's talk about it. So I'm going to show you an ideal opening, which is basically where you already had access to either Lucius or Femina, where you already had access to either one of these. I'd say if you basically just drew Femina already, your Ketu can get to Lucius. So here's what happens when you basically draw Lucius and Femina, or if you draw Lucius plus Frixel, and I'll show you. So what's going to happen is you're going to normal Lucius, use this effect to add Frixel because you already had Femina. And this is including Branded Fusion. So this is what happens when your Branded Fusion does not need to get the engine. And I'll show you guys. It's pretty nutty. You're going to activate 5 mana, fuse off the Frixel and the Lucius, put up an Arthalion. You're going to activate his effect targeting both the Lucius and the 5 mana, leave the Frixel alone, and then chain the other 2 cards in grave. Set yourself a copy of Ketu, as well as a copy of Rahu. These are getting added back to hand. The next thing you'll do is you will activate a copy of Ketu. To respect the Ash Blossom on your Rahu, you're going to add a copy of Urgula from your deck to your hand. The reason why you do that is so that if they Ash your Rahu, you're okay to actually use the Urgula plus the Femina to basically safely reinvest back into your Femina. So like if you don't add Urgula, for example, and your Rahu gets ashed, then you pretty much like lose Urgula access, and I think that's really important to grind and keep adding back resources. It's pretty pivotal. So I personally like to add the Urgula. It also gives me the option to not invest my Femina if I don't need to, which is really cool. So from here, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to activate Rahu. And what we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up even further, especially if we're playing against Mitsu. We're going to go ahead and dump the Pan and the Urgula. And this is also another checkpoint where if it's a mirror match, they will more than likely, if they have Ghost Bell, if they're smart, they're going to use it on Urgula to cut you off Femina. With this particular combo, with this particular like variation to the combo, you're completely safe from Bell, so now they have no choice but to use it on the traps because your 5 mana it's in your hand now. Like, you're completely in there. We're going to put up a copy of Gulamel. We're going to trigger both the dragons and set both the traps that match their art. Pretty fire. From here, you can actually use the Urgula bottom deck itself and grab the Frixel. The reason being is because you are going to be actually using this Frixel, and not in the way that you think. So now that you've done your full combo, in 3 summons need I mind you, you can actually activate Branded Fusion. And this is where it gets crazy because remember, the question in hand was 3 stacks. What happens when Branded Fusion doesn't need to be a starter? Well, you're going to dump a copy of Nibiru and a Fallen of Albaz from your deck, and you are going to make a copy of Albion. So Albion, when it fusion summons, it banishes the materials from your hand, field, and or graveyard. So it's a pretty nifty card in that regard. So when you Urgula it on the Frixel, it was a cool way to just do a cute little like Bell or Bestial check. You know, it's just nice to just go through the checklist. But if you got this far, you're Gucci, man. You're pretty Gucci. So you're going to activate the effect of Albion, and what we're going to do is we're going to banish the Albaz from grave and the Frixel from hand, because Albion banishes from hand, field, or grave, and it's an and/or, so it can do conjunction, one from each. It can do from field and from grave. It's a pretty nutty card. And then you're going to put up your Sanctifier. So what did you accomplish here, 3 stacks? Well, we have a 5 mana plus a name, so that's guaranteed getting us back into follow-up to play on our next turn, plus a really big push. We've got our regular board, but what's different now? Pans in Grave, so now when we do our power plays, if we get board wiped by like a Murakumo, we can actually pan back the Lucius. Lucius gets this just crazy snowballing advantage. Pretty gnarly. But what's different now is your Sanctifier can actually just target your Nibiru. And if you want to, you can give them pan. I would just say give them a random doo-doo monster from their grave. Like, for example, if they activate an effect to summon from grave, that like a lantern, you chain Sanctifier and take what they summon to your field and give them the Nibiru. And the next thing you would do is activate Horn, targeting the Nibiru that you gave them off Sanctifier, and return it to your hand. And then bottom deck a Ketu and draw one, which is just broken. So now your inboard not only has your regular Dracotail interactions, but you've also searched Nibiru in your combo. So I think that's pretty nifty. That's kind of broken if you ask me. That's another reason why Branded Fusion is such a good card in this deck. I have not seen anyone doing this. I don't know if people knew about this, but if you don't know, now you know. It's a pretty crazy card. And Sanctifier, just be mindful that this card is still an interruption. You can use it to generate advantage, but it's such a like diverse card in how I think like versatile you can use it. You can use it to disrupt your opponent to secure follow-up. What you can also do is you can use Gulamel to pop your opponent's boss monsters and steal them with Sanctifier. So like when you out Arclight with Sanctifier against Yummy, you can take their Arclight and use it against them because they properly summoned it. So when you break their board and can't OTK them, like again, you Branded Fusion, when they had Arclight up, you killed it, right? On their draw phase, you could just, when they pass priority back to you with no quick effects, you just take their Arclight. And you just give them some random doo-doo monster. Or, for example, if you didn't nib them, but let's say you drew nib for turn, and you use it as a fusion material, and you had to basically like add back other Dracotail resources off your Arthalion, you can basically target their Arclight and your nib, summon nib to their field and attack position, and give yourself the Arclight. Then you can Horn, bounce the nib. Now you have Arclight nib on top of your board. You're winning. You're FTKing them. This deck is nothing to scoff at, bro. And that's all I wanted to share you guys today. There's so much more that Branded Fusion is capable of doing. We'll get more into it. Well, let me check the time, actually. Let me just check the time. We're about 12 minutes in. I guess I can show you guys one more really cool thing. And it's going to be how you break boards going second with Branded Fusion. So Branded Fusion also enables you to chain block into an established board. So let's say that you're just staring down a copy of Ripper, right? Let's say you're staring down like a Ripper or just something that like just negates, like just a non-spell trap negate, right? So let's say my opponent has a Vimana and a Ripper with like a quick play on it, right? We can go like Branded Fusion, and this will get you pretty far into that board. It could be anything though. What I'm just going to show you is the prospect of how you use these cards. You'll fuse using Malulu and Albaz. You will put up a copy of Lubellion, and you will go Malulu 1, Lubellion 2, and then you'll discard for cost, of course. And then the 2 is going to resolve by shuffling back the Albaz and itself to put out a copy of either, depending on what the game state is and how the board can be interacted with, you will either be summoning Mirror Jade or you will be summoning, where's it at? Yeah, Chaos Source. Like against Yummy, for example, I think that Chaos Source sometimes is just better. And that's if you like nib traded with their Arclight or you 5-minute down on them turn, they couldn't get to it. Then like you're dumping Malulu. So it just depends. I would say a lot of the times Mirror Jade is just crazier because like if you have no choice, you can still just crash this into something and then trigger its effect and then basically build your board in main phase 2 and don't worry about attacking over anything because they're all going to die. So you just build your board in main phase 2 and just basically combo in phase it resolves, the whole board's gone. So this guaranteed is like basically a Murakumo if you use it the proper way. Or you make this if you're wanting to go for more of an OTK. But long story short, you're going to permanently negate something, and they can't respond to it because Chainlink 2 is Lubellion. You're going to summon 1 or 2. This can pop 2 because you use a light and a dark. You use Albaz plus Lubellion. This is just broken. We know Mirror Jade's crazy. and it can dump Albion and get another branded fusion. Because you put Albaz back, you can resolve your fusion again, which is broken. So this is like a board wipe, follow-up, and a spot removal in one. So most of the time, I would say Mirror Jade's better. And then you get a safely, like you get to safely resolve your, what's it called? Your Ketu. If you're staring down a Ripper plus the quick play rank up, 100,000% Mirror Jade's better, because what they can do is chain the rank, activate the rank up now that Ketu's set, and they can summon like a werewolf and non-target pop this. But if you chain Mirror Jade in response to it, you'll banish the card that they're trying to rank up, and it will fizzle, and now you're safe to Ketu and just win the game. So this is just another fun trick, another cool thing that Branded Fusion does for this deck. And that, my friends, is why I personally believe that this card, even though it's a 2-of, it is worth every sacrifice and risk you have to take to play it. And it's worth the dynamic composition, change in the composition of your deck that you will make just to play this card. Like, I will not play Cross Sheep. I will not play all those other cute cards. I won't play Selene, Access Code. Like, I won't play Titanic Galaxy. I will not play any of those just because Branded Fusion is worth all the sacrifices. Because you gain so much more in power, resilience, consistency, and a main deck engine card that beats the cards your deck loses to. It doesn't get any better than that. That's all I have to show you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Deuces.